Hello and welcome to episode 42 of the Money Talks. And today we have a very special guest, somebody that I have actually never had someone like him on my show before, which is the someone who's bootstrapped their way as a startup and taken the company public. They are valued at almost 5,000 crores as of today. And they've just announced a blockbuster first quarterly result as a listed company a couple of days back. I don't think I need to introduce him because he's been talked about in every single circle in all the WhatsApp forums that I'm a part of. The one, the only Prashant Pitti from EaseMyTrip. Prashant, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Anurag, for having us over here. Appreciate your kind gesture and the introduction you gave.
Prashant, I mean, you've got an amazing story, and like I was discussing pre-episode, I don't think we have enough time to delve in all the tangents, and I won't have enough time to introduce you today. So I'm going to take you right into the story. But yeah. I'll just mention a couple of things here that Prashant launched EaseMyTrip, and most people may not know this, but that EaseMyTrip actually has not raised any outside funding at all. They have been completely funded by the customer. They currently valued, they're like a $700 million startup. I would put them in the same league as Zerodha for financial services, EaseMyTrip for travel, because both companies became massive just on the back of their service and their customers. And today the whole point of getting Prashant on board today was to discuss how you build a startup, right, in a very tough and crowded space, in a tough environment, and in a place where everybody else has burnt hundreds of millions of dollars, maybe billions of dollars, and are yet to deliver profitability. So without further ado, Prashant, I know you're an IITM grad. Were you was that a dream to be at IIT Madras? How did you land up there?
Oh, well, to be honest, I didn't even know about IIT till my 10th standard.
Oh,
wow. One of my cousins, he gave IIT exam 4 times and, he couldn't succeed. So I asked him, what is this? Why are you, what are you preparing for exactly? Is it civil services? What is it? He said, "Tujhse nahi ho payega, ye IIT वगैरह है." I'm like, what do you mean by "tujhse nahi ho payega"? that's the only thing which got me interested. Otherwise, I was pretty much into sports. I didn't care so much about my studies till 9th standard. So, I used to be a very mediocre student, third rank, fourth rank, was never in first. The first 2 ranks are the ones which are coveted, right?
Right.
And I was happy there. I was just happy to be in sports. So he told me कि नहीं हो पाएगा, छोड़ दे, कुछ IIT चीज होती है. I'm like, okay, fine. Hold my beer.
Good one.
So then I dedicated to it, and then for 2 years I prepared, and I cleared IIT. My rank was 358 in the first attempt, and then me and my father, we went for counseling. And in the counseling, according to my rank, I could have gotten, electrical engineering Delhi as well, but I wanted to be as far away as I could from the house. So I decided, okay, so Chennai it is. And that's where I did my engineering.
Man, that's amazing. And like you said, you just did it on a whim. It wasn't even like, I know kids who think from the 6th standards or the 5th standards.
No, none at all. I was introduced to it just after my 9th exam. That was the first time I even heard the name IIT, to be honest.
Wow. And you what was your degree that you took at IIT?
I studied electrical engineering, BTech electrical engineering over there.
Achha.
And I barely managed to pass through it.
And when did you know when you graduated, right, that you would like less than 15, 16 years later would be one of the most valued travel startups in the country and an owner of a listed company?
Well, this was for sure. So I'll tell you that how did I come up over here, just after the graduation, all my friends were applying for, they all gave their GREs and other things to basically apply for MS in the US, right?
Correct.
And I was like, what's the point of doing it? They're like, the obvious answer is most of the IIT Madras graduate at that time used to basically go abroad to further studies and then probably settle over there. So I was the one who was kind of not so interested in it. I didn't know what I wanted to do, but US was not one of those things which was calling to me. I just knew that. But then, Capital One of the most premier jobs, came to the campus. And Capital One goes to, at that time, used to go to IIT and IIMs only and put together around 3,000 students would give interview. And they would select 3 or 4 of us from all the campuses put together. So a friend of mine told me that होना तो है नहीं तेरा, चल interview दे देते जाके, कोई फर्क तो पड़ता नहीं है. 3,000, 4,000, what are the odds that you're going to get it, right? So yeah, but I was lucky enough to get it, and then I couldn't back down. I had to go to US afterwards.
Wow, Washington DC.
I was in Richmond, Virginia, and Washington DC. I was shuttling between them. So I worked over there for about a year and a half. Then I switched my job. I joined HSBC for a year and a half. But I was very, very sure that I don't want to apply for green card. So I did, and I knew that I had to go back to India. This is just a blip in the moment. That was something which I knew for sure. And,
fun fact, you and I were both in Chicago in 2006 to 2008.
Yes, yeah, we talked about it, right? A bit, yeah. It's interesting. I was in Wicker Park area at that time. So
I was, good.
You were?
No, I was in Michigan and Randolph, close to downtown. Okay. Yeah.
Great.
So you spent about 3 years, in what you would call an MNC and a established organization. How, what do you think those 3 years were important, when you became an entrepreneur? What was the importance of those 3 years in your overall journey? Or was there any importance at all?
So I did get to learn a lot about corporate cultures. And, while being an employee, I also got to know what all people, at least I was aspiring from my boss. So I learned that particular bit, that as an employee, what exactly are you looking from your boss? So that learning, I think I'm carrying forward. And also some of the financial things, like what is NPV, how to calculate LTVs and all those things. So all those things are the learnings which of course I carried forward. And, of course, something related to customer services as well, and how to big a big brand. But I didn't know that all of that would be put to use one day, right? So yeah, so while I was working for HSBC, my 2 younger brothers, Nishant and Rikant, they kind of started EaseMyTrip in the early part of 2008. And I just knew that I didn't want to survive in the US. I knew that India is calling, and most of my friends who basically went to Capital One along with me from various IITs and IIMs, most of them probably decided to apply for the green card by that time. So I chose not to. And when Nishant and Rikant started this company and the company took a shape, I decided to quit and move back to India. That's how the journey began.
And I think the reason why your younger brothers started the company, there was a personal episode that took place, right? And if you could share with us, why did you guys start?
Absolutely. So this is very interesting. So basically, my father, he was conned by a travel agent, and my brothers, they got extremely pissed because they could see the rates on the internet and stuff like that, right? And they thought that, there are so many travel agents who might be conning regular people like this. So actually in 2007, they started a travel agency with the name of Duke Travel Agency. This is all the business began. We began as a Duke Travel Agency. The name of the company was Duke Travel Agency, nothing related to EaseMyTrip. Ran it for a year and then understood so many pain points a travel agent goes through. And then they started EaseMyTrip to solve those pain points of a travel agent. EaseMyTrip was started by understanding the pain point of a travel agent, by being a travel agent for a year. And that is how EaseMyTrip solution was so beautiful on the day one. When you actually have felt that pain of the need for the product, then it is so much easier to create it, isn't it?
Very true.
So they started EaseMyTrip as a software which travel agents can use to maximize their profit. So for the 2.5 to 3 years, this is exactly what EaseMyTrip did. We were not dealing with customers at all. We started dealing with customers in the mid of 2011. Before that, we were purely a B2B company. And in the hindsight, I think had we made any other move, I wouldn't be sitting in front of you. See, that 3 years, those 3 years, we were not competing against MakeMyTrips, Yatras, or ClearTrips of the world. We were building our technology, we were building our operations, we were building our relationship with the airlines, doing whatever we are doing even right now, but not directly to the customers, to the travel agents. And that is why we didn't have to spend money on marketing. We didn't have to give any discounts. We were running on very cutthroat margin at that time, but profitably. And we kept on building our base, our fundamentals, which is the technology, the operations, the relationship with the airlines. And after 3 years, we felt like we are ready to open up ourselves for the regular consumers. Now, had we started this as a B2C company on the day one, we would have been crushed. We would have been crushed by these big giants. We wouldn't have existed. And when I moved back to India, I started approaching, I approached 3 or 4 VCs to tell them that, okay, this is our vision. We want to be a B2B company, and then maybe later on switch to a B2C company. But then the investors' thought process at that time was, it's too late for B2C already. So if you're going to come 3 years later, it's going to be even further late. And B2B is anyways dying. Travel agent will die one day. This was their thought process, because of which we got passed 4 or 5 times. And then we stopped trying after that. We just stopped trying. We 3-4 लोगों ने मना किया, we said fine, ठीक है, खुद ही कर लेंगे.
And eventually, like, what do you think was that secret sauce that actually clicked? Like, even when you went B2C, what was the secret sauce that, because even when you went, let's say in 2011-12, MakeMyTrip and Clear Trip and Go Vivo, I mean, these were all very well funded and very well funded and growing big, right? But what was the secret sauce that you brought to the table? That was that, even for the customer, segregated or created a USP compared to everyone else.
So at that time, we analyzed that what is one thing which we can do absolutely right, which all others are not doing. And at that time, we realized that everybody else is charging convenience fees to the customers. Now, we all get, including them, we all get some commissions from the airlines. And see, from our perspective, we were getting commissions from the airlines. Let's say we were getting 6-7% commissions from the airlines. We were keeping 1.5% for ourselves and passing the remaining to the travel agent, right? At that time. So we learned how to manage our business in 1.5% commission at that time. And then we thought that, okay, let's open up EaseMyTrip.com for regular consumers. Okay. And at that time, we saw everybody else was charged over and above the commission they get from the airlines, they were charging convenience fees. So we thought that, hey, what's the point of charging convenience fees? Ab to jo 7% airlines se aa raha, wo to sara hamare paas hi rahega. What's the need for us to charge convenience fees? See, we did not make operations as heavy as they did. We made our operations as per the business environment of a software company which is selling software to the travel agent in a way, right? So our operations were extremely lean at that time. We were doing business of about 300 crores in the middle of 2011, just for the travel agent.
This is all bootstrap.
This is all bootstrap. Never raised any money. This is all put together. By that time, we must have put in, we started with 5 lakh rupees investment. And, we may have put by that time about 40-50 lakh. We took some loans. And on the basis of that, we reached till 300 crore turnover. But that turnover, to be honest, wasn't that difficult. We were dealing with about 2,000 travel agents. We were not dealing directly with the customers, right? So these were the customers of a travel agent. So, but the business was about 300 crores. And because of that, we developed deeper relationship with the airlines. And we thought that, hey, what's the point of charging this convenience fees? So from the day one, we didn't charge convenience fees. And even till today, we give customers an option not to pay convenience fees. So it's been 11 consecutive years where customers have tried and tested EaseMyTrip multiple times to see that we usually come cheaper compared to our competitors because we don't charge convenience fees. This convenience fees is not a small amount. It's basically, at that time it was 150 rupees per passenger. Right now it's 300 rupees per passenger. So it's a 300 multiplied by 4 passengers if 4 passengers are flying. So it's a 1,200 bucks in that sense, right? So This is what we have kept as a strategy from the day one till now. And actually, it's not just about money, if you think about it. This convenience fees portion comes in the very last leg of your booking. First, you select your flight, you select your seat, you select your meals, you add your baggage, you enter your name, you enter your co-passenger's name, mobile number, email address, blah, 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 blah. And then you see a payment page, payment gateway page, and then the convenience fees portion comes in. And by that time, it's too late for the customer, right? So customers, we are providing them a feeling that they're not cheated at EaseMyTrip. See, a cheating is a cheating, whether it's 1 rupee or 1 lakh rupee or 10 crore rupees. I'm sure you can also relate to it.
Yeah, very true.
So this is the feeling for which customer feels like at least I'm not thugged at EaseMyTrip. Whatever price they show in the beginning is the price what I end pay. They don't revise the price just because I'm logged in. So because of this, our repeat transaction rate is 86%. How do I define 86%? Over the period of 2.5 years, see, a regular middle class Indian travel once a year, right? So we have taken a period of 2.5 years. Over the period of 2.5 years, if there were, let's say, 100 customers who have used EaseMyTrip, 86 of them would have at least made 2 transactions on EaseMyTrip. 86 of them would have made at least 2 transactions. So we have created a virtuous cycle because of which our company clicked. The virtuous cycle is we have kept our operations extremely lean, extremely frugal, because of which we can afford to not to charge convenience fees. And because we don't charge convenience fees, we get users via word of mouth and users retain with us. And because of this, we don't have to spend much money on marketing. And then again, our operational expenses are reduced.
Yeah, so I understand the entire team is about less than 400 people.
That is correct. We have 370 people put together.
370 people. Wow. And currently you're the top airline booking agent
in the country. We are the second largest. We are the second largest for air ticketing booking. Of course, MakeMyTrip is above us. Yatra, ClearTrip, and all we have left them behind. In this.
So when you were looking at, let's say, all throughout, and maybe even 2015 was a very big funding moment in the travel industry. Oyo became big, and then suddenly you had all these guys raising hundreds of millions of dollars. Did you at any point feel maybe we need to go back to a VC, we need to raise money, or how are they raising money and why are we not?
Correct. And I'll be very honest, those kind of insecurities kept coming in. All over the period of time, when we see big headlines of this person raising so much money, this person raising so much money, and also the insecurities and also the doubt that if this person is going to have so much money, how are you going to beat them? How are you going to continue to beat them? Right? So all these things kept on coming. And, for the in 2008, when we approached them, we didn't get much headway. But afterwards, we did we got approached by quite a few VCs over the period of time.
Achha.
We got approached by quite a few VCs. But the deal which we usually were getting on the table is not something which we could understand. See, we were growing at 50% year on year, and we were growing profitably, right? Now, in this way, when a VC comes to us and say, hey, if I give you $20 million check, how are you going to use this money in 1.5 years period of time? And I'm like, I'm going to put this in FD. I mean, I don't know much. I don't know what else can I do. I'm growing pretty good. I'm growing profitably. We're like, no, you have to grow faster. I'm like, 50% growth is pretty good. And as long as we are growing profitably. So hence we could never come to terms with any VC. We were we were okay to even sell some of our own shares. But then most of the calls which we got were related to the money should go to the company and company should utilize it in a period of 1.5 years, 2 years, 2.5 years of period of time. And we just wanted to be true to what we were doing. We knew that we were going at some direction. We have chosen a completely different route, which is to grow organically, grow via word of mouth. And to be honest, I think in the hindsight, it's great that we didn't put too much money on marketing. And I'll tell you why. See, if I paint the town, or if I go on and drumming my beat saying that, hey, we don't charge convenience fees, I don't think so users or the consumers will take us seriously. They probably would think that, hey, convenience fees charge nahi kar rahe, transaction fees naam de denge, whatever, right? But when your friend tells you that EaseMyTrip is better because they don't charge convenience fees, you believe him, right? You understand that there is no malified interest. He's just a friend. So
Correct.
a growth via word of mouth is much more powerful than, to give you an idea, in FY20 we spent 27 crores on marketing, okay, and grew at 43% from FY19 till FY20. We grew at 43% from FY19 to 20 by spending 27 crores on marketing.
What was the revenue at FY20? Like
FY20, the gross GMV was 4,200 crores.
Okay, with a 27 crore expenditure.
27 crores expense as a marketing. While the industry leader spent 1,260 crores. 1,260 crores on marketing, and they grew at 18%. So, and of course, our base is not as high as theirs, but still it's not as low anymore. So, there's definitely something more than maths over here. You once you have given customers a sustainable portal where they have always gained some amount over the period of time, then they just get habitualized to that particular product.
Correct.
It's just that. So I really think that the marketing budgets and your growth need not be correlated at all.
It's very interesting. Like you provided a service. I didn't see any. I don't remember seeing too many EaseMyTrip ads on TV, right?
No,
but yet you kept growing.
That, except for 1 or 2 times. Yeah.
And yet you kept growing. You kept growing. So where were you spending your marketing dollars, marketing rupees?
Very simple, performance marketing. If somebody was searching EaseMyTrip on Google, our name should come on top, something like that. On the advertisements, or if somebody's searching Delhi Bombay flight, then the EaseMyTrip ad should come. So stuff like that. Very simple performance marketing, no branding, only the performance marketing. Most of the money goes to the Google or Facebook. That's about it.
Wow.
So a very, very simple, down-to-earth approach. We tried doing some advertisements on print. We printed half a page advertisement once. We didn't see any change, so we chucked it. We're like, okay, we don't want to do any branding. We understand that there's no value, so we tried it in the year 2016 and won very lately for the IPO time. During the IPO time, again, we got reaffirmation that marketing is not something which brings you customers. No.
I also realized that the CSR is very well regarded at EaseMyTrip. I believe you've done something with empowering the frontline agent, right? And that has led to a massive change in the customer experience, because usually experience with customer service has not been great. I mean, that's one of the pet peeves, regardless of whether you're dealing with an airline or an OTA. Right. Usually that is a pain point of an experience.
Right. Absolutely.
And I think you figured out a way to solve that. Like, what was the issue and what were you solving?
So basically the problem, okay, let's talk about how many times customer actually needs support. A customer needs support when he's trying to reschedule his flight or cancel his flight, right?
Correct.
And when does a customer reschedule or cancel his flight? There must be some distress, right? Or change of plan that must have come, because of which they are canceling or rescheduling their flight. Now the customer is already in painful situation, and it's our job this happens only 10% of time. 90% of time you just book the flight ticket and you fly, and you don't need any service. Only 10% of the time you need a service, and that too is your stressful time. Now we understood that this is the time where most of the companies are focusing on the 90%, but not the 10% time when the customer. But if you take this 10% over a period of long time, then almost everybody has fallen into that category once, right? So imagine if you're using EaseMyTrip over the period of 5 years, you might give me only one opportunity to serve you, right? And hence I must do my level best to serve you at that time. Now, at that time, we used to pick some calls randomly ourselves as well, right? And we, just to understand what the customers is going through. And at one time, we understood that mostly the customers are in distress situation at that time. They are asking for an exception. They know by the rules, they may not get money from EaseMyTrip. Because, as per the rules, the cancellation charges are so and so and so, right? It's the standard practice. Airline takes some cancellation charges. All the companies, OTAs take some cancellation charges, and then you refund. So we realized that whenever a customer is in a distress situation and they've made some special plans for themselves, like they want to go on a honeymoon, or it's an anniversary, or they want to surprise somebody, in those special cases, and if they have to, and since it's a special case, they are not regular flyers. They've actually taken a lot of brunt, and they might be overspending for that particular occasion. So in those cases, we realized that we must do whatever best we can do. But the thing which has happened was, let's say a frontline executive, he picks up the call and he understands the situation that it was my anniversary and I can't go because of blah 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 reason. My husband is sick. Can you please request airlines to not to charge me cancellation fees, right? Now that person will tell their manager, and then their manager, or EaseMyTrip also to let go of the cancellation service charge which we charge, right? Now we found that the intent was lost in the translation. As the hands kept changing to the VP level, the information was somebody is asking for cancellation of refund. As simple as that. So that's the information VP would get it, and and hence the VP will deny it. The VP level will deny it, like nahi karna bhai, ye to business hai. So this is what we did. We thought that, hey, let's make a kitty. Let's make a kitty for our sales executive or front support executive, and this kitty is going to be proportionate to our profitability. I will not be able to share that number right now, what that number was, but it's a proportionate to our profitability. And any call center executive can take a call that if the kitty is available, they can on the phone itself give a voucher to the customer of that amount, or a lesser amount. So he doesn't need to take any permission from anybody. He can just take a call right there and then from the kitty, and basically help customers on the basis of on the case to case basis. And then later,
as you grew, that kitty also grew then.
Of course, it's a function of our GMV. It's a function of our profitability. It's a it's a percentage of the profitability. So it kept growing. So this really, really empowered the entire team that they can actually solve problems right on the phone, and it created a humongous amount of wow experience for the customer, which really helped build our brand.
And how is it like working with your three of you guys, with your two siblings? Like how, because there's a family relationship and there's a professional relationship, and you're running this massive thing called EaseMyTrip. Like, and how are you guys maintaining that balance? Because, and it's very important, not just from a startup angle, but even for so many family offices that have people their next gen working together. How are you keeping yourselves together?
So of course, we do have our fair bit of share of disagreements with each other. That happens all the time. Being brothers, it happens probably more often than not. I would say that way. It happens. But however, we have kept one very single policy between us that has really helped. And to be honest, I say this to my staff as well, our team members as well, which is to treat company like a baby. Now, and imagine that we all are parent of a baby, right? And if anybody has been a parent, they will understand that when it comes to the baby, there is no ego. If one parent is saying something and that thing is logically correct for the baby, then you step back and say, yeah, you're right. Let's do this for the baby. As simple as that. You don't experiment on the baby just because you are saying so, isn't it?
Correct.
Like, for my baby, if I'm saying something and my wife says something else, and now I'm thinking she's right, then I'm going to keep my ego aside because it's the future of my baby, right? So
Correct.
If you start thinking company also in that perspective, that the company is a baby and you're nurturing the baby together as a parent, then the ego equations actually really, really vanishes. And this is the best way which we found out to remind ourselves that we are raising a baby together, and there shouldn't be any whatever disagreement should happen, they should happen because of the merit or non the merit, not because of the ego.
And that's it's so amazing that how this dynamic is working out. Like, what was the role of your parents in creating this dynamic? And it's just the three of you, or do you have a sister as well?
No, it's just three of us.
Acha.
So for us, we come from an extremely humble background,
Okay.
Anirudh. I would say I have spent most of my childhood in one room where it was five of us. So we come from an extremely humble background. Our father was a businessman, but he made sure that we had whatever comfort he could provide. But we come from an extremely humble background, and this was always there for us in our minds that we are going to stay together thick and thin, and that feeling was there since forever. And as a parent, I think what we have seen from our father is that whether we have had bad days or good days or mediocre days, it was never a day when somebody had to call my father to, since he was a businessman, there was never a day when somebody had to call him for the money. He may be calling a lot of people to get the credit which he has given back. But as soon
Huh.
as he get any money in his hand, he would be the first one to just go and distribute it and not let anybody call him. So this was one of the things which we really learned very, and it's imbibed in our DNA that we should do our business with as much as integrity we can, and we should not let anybody follow up for the money, for sure. That if somebody has, this is just the way we grew up.
So in that sense, COVID-19 first wave would have been quite a deep impact on the overall business.
Oh yeah, we didn't know what we were, what was coming right at that time. In fact, for us, it was a double whammy. We were almost about to IPO. Our
Hmm.
initial IPO plan was March 2020, and this March 2020 date was set in December 2018. So from December 2018 till March 2020, we were preparing for the IPO all this while. And February 2020, January 2020, we hit the road. We met investors. We got blockbuster response from the investors, and we were about to IPO. And then COVID happened. So it like put all the efforts it actually screwed up all the efforts which we put in for almost about a year or slightly more time frame.
Wow.
So we took a call at that time that we will postpone the IPO indefinitely. I called up the investors I met who wanted to put in money. I said, like, hey, it's written on the wall that the COVID is coming in India, and we can't go out, we can't go public in such murky environment. So I took the call. I made the calls to most of the investors and told them that we are postponing this indefinitely. And then in December 2020 came, the COVID wave was down. It was almost like business as usual. The numbers almost came back to pre-COVID level. And then we thought, okay, let's fiddle with the idea of going back to the investors, and we again got phenomenal response from them. They're like, yeah, let's go for it. And then the process started, and in March 2021 we were able to go public. But again,
So
we
tell
didn't
me
know the
about that.
situation. We had no
Sorry.
idea.
Yeah. I mean, that was toward the end of March.
Yeah. So
So
yeah, we
tell me a little bit about that moment. Like, so you said December 2018, you guys decided to go public. What was that conversation about? And before we get there, I do want to ask you one thing. I realize your IPO, even in that, you didn't take the money inside the company, right? It
yes,
was so it was an IPO where it was more like a secondary sale of your
it,
shares,
correct, correct,
correct? And you didn't take
correct.
any money. I mean, so there literally is, even today,
The
technically
company
there is
still
no
bootstrap.
investor money. Yeah,
The
it's
company
still
still
bootstrap
bootstrap.
as a
Company still
as
bootstrap.
as a listed 5,000 crore company.
Yes, it's still
What's the
bootstrap.
aversion to outside capital, Prashant?
Well, at the time of the IPO, the company had 200 crore cash sitting in the FD format. It's literally sitting in
Wow.
the FD. And now, if we can't do justice to that 200 crore, why should I take any more money? It's sitting in the FD, right? So, as simple as that. There's no need for the company to take any additional money. The company is cash rich, And I wouldn't be able to answer investors if I were taking any money in the company. What would I do with it? I actually don't have any answer to it. So
And it's amazing. I mean, this is amazing. You start a company with 5 lakhs of your own cash, 50 lakhs in debt, pretty much, and 15 years of effort, right? Let's not forget that. And you create 200 crores of cash on the table, and obviously, even if you count the IPO proceeds, it's a pretty hefty sum. But you still own 75% of this company. It's still your company, right? In every sense of the word. Yes, you have outside investors, but like for the startup founders listening in, right? This is a completely alien concept, right? This is like, how do you do this, right? And I want to if somebody's starting out, like, what would you tell them, that should they not go out and raise capital? I know you become an angel. We'll come to that story as well.
I wouldn't say that at all. See, VC money is a great money to solve your teething problems. It's a great money to solve your initial problems, but you cannot develop a habit to use that money as a part of your P&L. That is my take. VC money is a great money as long as you're solving your teething problem for first 3 years, 4 years, 5 years to basically get to some place while you're figuring it out, right? And my take is that just because there's so much of abundance of VC money, you should not exploit it by doing a lousy job of not managing your P&L. I, in the meantime, started another company, Near Group. It started as a hobby. I was able to raise money from the US. There were some US-based investors. I'm not going to get into why it didn't, there was some problem with the Facebook because of which, it got killed in the middle. Otherwise, it was going somewhere. But anyways, I knew that company for that company, I would not be able to manage the P&L unless I get another route. And I just chose not to. I said, I knew that with that money, if I can make a sustainable business, I'll continue. Otherwise, I won't. And that company is basically getting shut as we speak.
Wow. And so let's talk about that moment. So you decide in December 2018, we're going to go public, right?
No, it wasn't that we decided that we will go to public. I'll be honest. It was a couple of bankers, investment bankers, who approached us, and they put ideas in our head. Like, hey, you're cash rich and you're an internet company, very unlike combination. Why don't you go public? I'm like, tell me more about it. And they're like, you need to be profitable for the last 3 years. There are some criteria which you clearly meet, and you seem like a great, candidate to go public. I'm like, do you think so? He's like, yeah, for sure. I'm like, fine, let's talk about it. I'm like, okay, we don't need money in the company. Like, that's fine. You don't need to take money in the company. I'm like, sold. Let's talk about it. And that's how the process.
And so so FY18 is basically, or FY19, sorry, is when this whole conversation started about going about this IPO process. So and I mean, I'm absolutely sure your father's a very proud father of having you guys create this company. But what was that moment like when you finally got investor interest? 1 year, IPO bhi ek saal aage chale gaya, right? I mean, all the trouble you could have has happened. You were in an industry hardest, still struggling. I would say 90% of the players are still struggling today, right? And you do an IPO, which is also a blockbuster IPO, right? And you go public March 2021, right? And overnight, each one of you guys is worth over 1,000 crores, right? Even if you just divide it equally between each one of you guys. What was that moment like? Like, to look at each other going, what, dude, do you know what? That 15 years some kaam kar rahe hain, and here's the result. Is we're worth so many zeros, you can't put them together in an Excel sheet, in an Excel cell. So what was that moment like?
To be honest, the money is not something. Many people I meet these days saying that, hey, why do you even look worried? You should be so calm. You should be so relaxed. What's making you worry now? And to be honest, nothing has changed. I really, really mean it when I say nothing has changed. We thought that things probably will change, but nothing has changed. In fact, now we feel slightly more responsible towards the money which we have raised and to the shareholders. Last 3 days of my timelines were extremely jam-packed, meeting various investors, media, TV interviews and whatnots. And to be honest, we just feel a little bit more responsible, and this money thing doesn't even come to our mind. To be honest, beyond a certain number, money doesn't even matter.
Correct.
After a
Correct.
payment, it's just another zero, and it doesn't really matter. What matters, what's firing us up right now is that, hey, I'll give you some numbers, which you may be able to relate what we are feeling. I'll compare ourselves with the industry leader. Okay.
Okay.
So in FY19, industry leader was 5.6 times bigger than us in selling air tickets.
Okay.
Okay. In FY19. In FY20, they remained 4.2 times bigger than us in selling air tickets. In FY21, which we just concluded, they were 2.7 times bigger than us in terms of selling air
Wow.
tickets. So from 5.6 to 4.2 to 2.7 as per their financials, right? Now that's what is keeping us worried. Like, how do we overtake them? What would be the time period when that's going to become 1x, right? Is what we're looking forward to, and that's what keeping us charged.
Or 0.9x for that matter. If you now let's look back at this journey, 15, 16 years. If you could do it all over again, right? And what would be two things that you wish you would have done earlier or faster or better in the last 15 or 16 years?
Sure. So, EaseMyTrip only had one near-death moment. That
Okay.
was in the month of September 2008. I just moved back from the US to India, and one of the travel agents to whom we were serving, he basically used fake credit cards to make tickets worth of 26 lakh rupees, and we lost that 26 lakh rupees overnight. Like, it happened overnight. And
Wow.
you know it was like, at that time I was sure that I made a mistake and I should have not quit my job and I should beg my boss to go back to US again. And but the sanity or insanity prevailed, and we said, okay, fine, let's try it one more time, and let's make sure that this does not happen again. And we did make sure that doesn't happen again. So I guess I'll go back to that night and make sure that we don't get caught for that 26 lakh rupees.
Save the 26 lakhs.
Yeah, I will say
But
that way, but that still pinches. That moment still pinches. So
but the good thing is, both of these events, your father getting conned and obviously this second con. I mean, if your father hadn't gotten conned, I don't think EaseMyTrip would have
oh yeah,
existed. Because pain point
no, we wouldn't have even known about this line. We wouldn't even have, my brothers wouldn't have tried Duke Travel, travel
Yeah.
agency, and we wouldn't be sitting here for sure. But this con didn't really help us as much, we wish. But this was like a near-death experience at that moment, where there was a lot of disappointment within ourselves, within the family, for what has happened. But yeah, that's definitely one moment where we would go back and change the time.
So tell me, how does the Pitti family actually travel itself, right? How do you guys take vacations? Because it's a joint family, everyone's in the same business, you know. Like, how do you decide where to go? And what are the
Well,
conversations like? Are you guys always discussing train tickets and railway tickets? Sorry, train tickets and airline tickets at the dinner table? How is it like?
so I guess yes, I would say that the family, since the entire family is running one particular business, more often than not, or we may want to control those conversations, but it happens naturally. Over the dinner table or in each other's room, we talk about business most of the time. Even though we try to limit that conversations, but it happens. It's a matter of fact. For our travel related thing, we being in this industry, we kind of know a little bit about travel. So you know it's something which I we all actually have different taste. I My taste is personally to go in extremely offbeat locations, where for miles you I may not be able to see anybody. Those are the kinds of locations where I would want to go. My two younger brothers, they are more of a city person. They want to enjoy, they want to
Acha.
club, they want to party. So but sometimes I pull them along, sometimes they pull me along. So that's how we travel.
And where do you see now? Where do you see EaseMyTrip in the next 10 years, right? You finished 15, 16 years. You got a 25-year anniversary in about 9 years from now. So where do you see that, right? See
So
yourself
we
as a tech.
actually did our 13th anniversary, only a few days ago. So
Achha, so you're
for
another
company
12 years. Yeah, halfway there.
another 12 years. Yes, abhi aadha ho
Yeah.
gaya. Yeah, I mean, being a public company, I don't think so. I'm allowed to talk about where do I want to see myself in 12 years from now. My aspirations are very high, but if I say those aspirations right now, I think SEBI is going to come after my life. So I may not be able to say it.
But
But
as
yes,
as as, as EaseMyTrip, like, are you looking at, like, if you think about 12 years from now, do you continue to be in travel? Do you expand? What do you think would be the
So,
next
so there
step?
is so much on the table right now. There is certainly
Acha.
so much on the table. I think this is just the beginning where we are at. Basically, our market share in air segment is somewhere around 7.5% right now,
Okay.
which can grow phenomenally. Forget about the hotel, holidays, bus, train, where we are really at the beginning in all those spaces. But in the air segment itself, we are at 7.5%, and then there's so much of international market to capture. So honestly speaking, I think we may not get time in our lifetimes to do anything else beyond this. This itself, and I think it's good that we are focused on this and we want to continue grow in this space. Just because you know with every this is a great responsibility as well on our shoulder to actually make the change which we can by sitting where we are sitting right now.
And have you also taken up any interest in angel investing and supporting other startups at a personal level?
Yeah. I'm doing a few bit whatever I can. It's something which I'm looking for good companies who could be the next EaseMat if it's possible. And if I could nurture them, if I could help them in whichever sense I can. So I'm trying to find some companies. Yes.
No, this is so interesting. I mean, I didn't even realize we made it an hour, and we've not had a chance to take any audience question. I don't even know if I'll have a chance to take an audience question today. But I think I had one last question to ask you. If people want, if a founder here wants to reach out to you and wants to pitch their idea to you, right? Because you're also investing now. What's the best way to get in touch for them to
My
get in touch?
email address, prashant@easemytrip.com.
So guys, Prashant, it is my trip. If you want one of the, like I said, the 0.10% of Indian founders out there to look at your company, Prashant at easemytrip.com. You can email him out. I will take any questions that you have. We're going to go through rapid fire. I've already taken Prashant's time. I know he's had a very, very, very full last for 72 hours. So we'll take him through rapid fire. If we have a chance to take a couple of questions, we'll take that. But so do put your questions in the comment section. But until then, Prashant, I'll take you quickly through rapid fire. As you know, rapid fire is just about 10, 12 questions. I'll just shoot them out at you, whatever first comes to mind. You're expected to
Oh,
blurt it
okay.
out, right?
Oh God,
And
I hate
yeah,
this.
unfortunately, there's no hamper at the end of this, but we will have some fun with this.
All right.
So I think the first question, and all the odd one to ask you, but I think it's a very important one, is that one piece of advice you would give to founders about fundraising?
Oh, okay. Research. Read about the person you're going to pitch, and if you can make a personal connect, then your story will be much more reliable for the investor to read. If the investor knows that you have done a due diligence on whom you're approaching, that means you probably are doing due diligence in your business as well.
Oh, that's a very, very important point. If you've done due diligence, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Wow, very well put. Second question, it's a Peter Thiel question, right, from his book Zero to One. One thing that you know to be true, but very few people agree with you on this.
One thing that I know to be true, but very few people agree. Wow. I should think more about it. I don't think so. I have an answer for that right now because I
That you
think
can
whatever
create
I
an
think
Indian
most people
startup
agree
without
with.
raising money. That you can create a 5,000 crore company without raising money.
Uh, yeah, I mean, you could say that had this plan not, but if we had not reached where we have reached, a lot of people would have thought we are fools that we let go of so many VC offers, isn't it?
True, true,
Yeah,
very true.
yeah.
I mean,
We got a lot of opportunity in the meanwhile, which we couldn't take because of the ethos
the
we were
terms.
following. Yeah,
Yeah.
the ethos we were following. So had this not panned out the way it did, a lot of people would say like, look at them, they got so many
And actually,
options.
and honestly, I have seen, Prashant, at least in my experience, I've seen startups and I've seen founders who've actually changed their entire ethos because they need, because somebody dangled a 25, 30, maybe $50 million check in front of them, and suddenly you
Yeah,
change the entire company for that.
correct,
And
correct.
till date, I don't think any of those companies have actually worked out, right? Because
Yeah,
if
I mean, it never does. You can never retrofit your business for the money.
correct,
It doesn't work that way. The business should be the core, and money should be fitting in the business, not the business to be fitting in the money.
it's so true, so true. And when do you get your best work done? Are you a morning person or a night person?
I'm a night person. I love to work till 2:30, 3 a.m. And I usually I sleep very less. I should be sleeping more. I sleep only for 5.5, 6 hours a day, and that's just a habit I've gotten into. I wish I'm a terrible sleeper. I've always been a terrible sleeper. But yeah, I wish I could get more sleep.
So if you're writing an email, guys, you should be writing after 12 midnight to Prashant. That's the time it gets read. Who's your favorite superhero? And
Okay, that's also interesting. I have quite a few. I could say who's my favorite super. You mean superhero like a superhero or like a real person superhero?
no, no, like a superhero, like one of the
Superhero,
Avengers or one of
Batman
the.
for sure. Batman. You
Why
know,
Batman?
it's so obvious, right? This guy is real. He basically uses his fist. He doesn't have all those superpowers, yet he's a superhero, as we all say him as a superhero. This guy is totally relatable to me.
Being a real superhero. So, and what is the first name that comes to your mind when you
Mhm.
hear the two words, successful entrepreneur? Who's the first person that comes to mind when you think of that?
Oh, Elon Musk. Gotta say that. I have a huge man crush on him.
In fact, Ankur Ved says that Batman works at night as well. That's probably why.
Oh, that's true. That's true. Didn't think about that. Yeah.
Uh, so what's I guess you're a very recent investor, so I'll ask you another question. Like, what's one piece of advice that you would give your 18-year-old self?
I should have started experimenting with entrepreneurship while I was in the college. I should have done that. I, I just didn't know so much about entrepreneurship at that time, and I wish I did. And for the 4 years in the college, while I was doing so many of the things which I shouldn't have, I could have done some experimentation with entrepreneurship at that time. Surely.
And I mean, and IIT Madras has an amazing list of companies coming out of it. And are you now going back to your alma mater and looking at supporting companies out of there?
So, to be honest, I haven't done much of angel investment yet. It's just that
Okay.
we got some monies only recently. This is only
Hmm.
1.5, 2 months from now, right? So, but yes, I'm in touch with few IIT Madras's or young entrepreneurs to see whatever value I can provide.
Wonderful, wonderful. Uh, what's two things that you have on your bucket list that are still not done?
Okay, so one thing I did do a bit, but I want to do more of it, and I haven't done all of it yet. Um, about a year back, I left my phone, I left my laptop at home, and I stayed in a monastery in Nepal for 12 days. And
Wow,
I was among 300 monks, and we meditated for 14 hours a day, and that was like a really really peaceful time for me. And my goal was to basically to be a monk at one point. When during the IIT times, I did think about it a lot to become a monk. And I probably would want to do that more. I would want to do that for at least a couple of months. And
wow.
that's something which I get inclined to. And the other thing, of course, which is on my bucket list, is I'm playing quite a bit of chess these days. I spend at least half an hour to 1 hour every day. My current ELO ranking or ELO rating is 1450. I definitely want to take it to the north of 1800, and I'm working on it.
Wow, maybe Hopskis should talk to you about that.
Sure.
Last two questions for you. What's the best and what's the worst advice in business that you have ever received?
Okay, so I can talk about the best. Worst, I don't even know. I don't tend to. I won't remember the worst ones, right? I just forget. The good ones, I remember. One time I was told that many a times you have to take the leap of faith first, and the trust part comes later. And I found it to be very true. Many a times you just have to go for it, and then the trust gets built over the period of time. It's not that you're always born with the trust of what's going to happen. The doubts, the self doubts will keep cropping in all the time, and it's just that you need to learn how to control them and how to move forward in life. And I found it very helpful. Whenever I am in doubt, I actually repeat this sentence to myself, and I go forward with it.
Take a leap of faith. The trust will have to be built or will follow. Very interesting. And last question, and for the night, which is, what is one business you wish you would have founded?
There could be so many, right? The hindsight is always so clear. Hindsight is 2020. Yeah. So there's so many. I mean, I'm going to be lying if I say, oh no, this is what I wanted. This is what I do. There's so many. There's so many good, exciting things the world has done. Like EaseMyTrip is probably nothing in compared to what all people are doing. In fact, to some level, the reason I say that I'm a big fan of Elon Musk is, I really, really admire what he's doing with Neuralink, the new company. And I think, I wish I could get an internship in that company right now. That's how I sometimes wish about it. It's just going to be a whole new, bulb moment. The bulb moment, which happened for Thomas Edison, right, in 1800s. I think this is going to be another huge thing where you can connect, the silicon to your brain, as what he's trying right now.
Totally.
And I think that's going to be the biggest revolution ever in our lifetime. And I wish I could just even go over there and do an internship over there right now. So there's so many things which I would want to do, but that's something which I wish I had started Neuralink, to be honest.
So I think I'm going to ask my team. We need to make a concerted effort to reach out to Elon Musk. There has been 5 or 6 founders who want to get a link to him. It's time that we write him an email and ask him to come for the 50th episode of the Money Talks.
The biggest thing is, how does he even get mind space to run so many $500 billion companies? That's so amazing. How to even juggle so much between one company to the other company.
I know as VCs, we keep telling our founders, concentrate on one company, you need to build one company at a time.
Yeah, and
obviously,
right?
Yeah, and he's out there like doing 4 or 5 companies. He's thinking about all these things that he's building and going to build, and and the way he's raising capital and his share prices for that, it's truly amazing. So I know, Prashant, I've taken 10 extra minutes, and it's been a very long 3 days for you. But so all I can say is thank you so much. I like you. I like the fact that you're humble, that you don't think EaseMyTrip has done a lot, but truly, this is an amazing story. Like in a world where obviously you're seeing all these companies are burning copious amounts of cash, and are being told to. Unfortunately, it's not. I don't think the founders really want to go out and burn money, but there is a lot of peer pressure that if somebody else is growing too quickly, I need to go quickly. Otherwise, they're going to eat up the entire market, right? And then you have a story like yourself, like this, and you can build a 5,000 crore business. Yes, you can build wealth for yourself, and no, you don't need to burn investor cash or your own cash for that matter. And I'm so excited that at least the followers of the Money Talks get a chance to listen to that, and hopefully when this episode goes live on all the platforms, a lot more people will learn from your experience. Thank you so much for your time tonight.
Our pleasure is all mine. Thank you so much for having me over here. Thank you so much. Have a good night.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good night. We'll catch you again next week. Bye.